today's video, I am going to show you how you can extract sample IDs or names from a VCF file. And the tool we are going to use is bcftools. So bcftools has a set of utilities that can help you to manipulate VCF files. So this is the page where you can read about this tool. There are lots of commands here, but for this tutorial, we are going to use the query command here. I will leave the link to this page in the description box in case you want to read more about this tool, but our focus is to just use this query command here for it. And so for this exercise, we are going to first download an example dataset, and then we are going to extract the sample IDs from that dataset using bcftools. And so this leads me to the next thing, which is the PC requirements. So in order for you to follow this tutorial, you need to make sure that you have a Unix-like operating system. So it could be Linux or it could be Mac OS. So these are the two operating systems. And then you also need to make sure you have installed bcftools in that PC. I have a separate tutorial that shows you how to install bcftools, so you can just watch that tutorial. The link to that video is in the description box. So just use that to set up your PC. Now we proceed. So let me just open my terminal here. So I assume that you have also installed bcftools. So I will just test by issuing this command bcftools here, just to make sure that things are working fine. So at least now everything looks great. We will begin by first downloading an example data. Okay, so we are going to use a VCF file which is available on my GitHub repo. And this is the page. I'll leave the link in the description box for you to also visit this repo and then download it. But for this exercise, we are going to use this file, all.snipsindex.vcf.gz. This file is what we are going to use. To download it, you first have to click on it. You can also double click. And then you'll be sent to another page. On this page, move to the right side. Just follow my cursor. Move to the right side and you'll see a download button here. So there's a button labeled download. That is what we are going to use. I'll show you two approaches to use to download this file. The first approach is used if you want to download using the browser. What you do is to click on it and then you'll be asked to save. So I will save it on my PC. Make sure you save it in a location where you have access to the file. Okay, so there's one way to download the file. The other approach is used if you are working on a remote server where you have access to only the terminal or the command line. For that, you need to have the download link. Okay, so that is what you need. So to get the download link, still bring your cursor over to the button. And then what you do is to just right click it. Okay, so once you right click it, you go to this copy link here and then just click on it. Okay, so I am using a Firefox browser, so this is how I do it. But using the other browsers to be able to get the download link. So once you have this download link, you move to the terminal and continue from there. So on the terminal, the first thing I will do is to create a working directory. So I will say make the VCFs. I will then cd to it. The reason why I do this is to separate files that I'll be generating for this exercise from other files on my PC. Okay, so doing this helps you to organize your files and prevent accidental removal of files and modification of files. So that is why I create directories for every project that I do. So now it's time to download the data. So I will use wget for it. So I'll say wget and I'll supply it with the download link of the file, the VCF file. And then I'll run it. Please take note that aside wget, there are other tools that can help you to download files from the internet. Okay, so just use an appropriate tool to get your data downloaded. So let's run this command. So now the data has been downloaded. Let's first clear the screen and continue. So let's do an ls to check the file. So there we have it. So with a sample ID, sometimes you just want to display them on the screen. Okay, so that is what we will start with. So to display the sample IDs, we say bcftools query-l and you supply it with the file name of the VCF. So that is all.snip singles vcf.gz. So there's the command. So let's run it. So after running, you will have the sample IDs displayed here, okay, on the screen. So that's what we need. So with the sample ID, sometimes you also want to save that information to an output file, okay, so that you can access it later on. So that's what we will look at. So to do that, we will say bcftools is a similar command like this one here. So I'll just use my arrow key, just to my top arrow key, just to get it here. Okay, so I have it here. So once you have this command, you add this, and then you have it there, and then you supply your name. Okay, so the name of the output file, so that will be sampleids.txt. This is what I will give, but you can also change it to a different name, but it's all fine. So what is happening is that because of this sign here, Linux will take the output from this command and then just put it here, or store it here. That is what this does for us. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So once you have this, you can run it, and so it's done. So do an ls and you will see the file created here. So this has the sample IDs. So if you want to view the sample IDs for display, we can use the cat command on this text file here. So cat sampleids.txt, run it, and the sample IDs will be displayed for us. So that's how we do it. So these are cool things you can do with some Linux commands and some VCF manipulation tools, such as the one we are doing now. So now let's clear the screen and then just continue. Do an ls. Now what we did was to just display the sample IDs, but we can also count it. So to count, it's still the same command. Let's do this. Okay, now since I have already saved everything here, I can just say cat sample IDs, and then I'll issue the pipe and say wc-l, and then I'll have it here. Okay, so that's how we do it. Let's just display this one here. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 of them here, 11 samples here. There are 11 of them. Okay, so that's how we do it. If you want to do it straight away, you can also say bcftools query-l. You supply it here and you say pipe wc-l. You'll still have the same thing here. So this is how we do it. And it's very, very simple and easy to follow. Now there's one scenario where we have the data stored locally on our PC. Let's look at the second scenario where the data is on a remote server. It's also very simple. Let's clear the screen first. So here on your browser, go to the FTP site for the 1000 Genomes project here. Okay, so I'll leave the link to this page also in the description box, so just use that to visit the page. So on this page, we have several VCF files here. So let's use one of them. Let me just zoom in. Let's use this one here, the one that I'm highlighting now. This is chromosome 1. So just right click it and then get the link. So I'm using a Firefox. When I right click, I'll use copy link, this one here. So I'll copy this link here. When you click, it will download for you, but we are not going to download. So that is why I'm just copying the download link. So I'll copy it. Again, it is this one here. As I'm highlighting, I'll copy it. And then that link is what I need. I'll just come here and I'll say bcftools query-l, and I'll supply it with a link here. So once you have it here, you just run it. And then this will also display the sample IDs for you. But of course, because it's on the internet, it might take some time, but just wait and it will display it for you. Yes, so notice how it has displayed it for you, but we have lots of them here. And so with the, let's clear the screen first. With the same command here, as I've done here, you can just pipe it and save it. Okay, just as we did with the previous one. So let's save it as what? chromosome1.txt. We are saving the sample IDs, and then after that we can now count. So I'll just save it here. And then let's give it some time to save. So let's see how it goes. So let's do an ls. Now it has been saved for us. Let's do an ls. And then notice that we have what? The text file here. So here you can still do a cut. And then you have it here. Let's clear the screen. Let's do an ls. And now let's count the sample ID. So we say cut cr1.txt. We pipe and say wc-l. And so we have it here, 2504 samples. That is what we have in this VCF file. So these are the ways you can just get your sample IDs. Okay. Now with the previous command, we use this bcftools query-l, and we supply the link to the VCF file, the one on the remote server. Okay, this link is very long, and so if you are going to use this link a number of times, okay, you are going to use it several times in maybe your project, in your scripts, then it's going to be very cumbersome. So we can simplify this by assigning this link here, the entire link here, to a variable, so that anytime we want to use this link, we just call that variable and then we have access to this link. So let me show you how that is done. Let's clear the screen first. So we create a variable. So we say link, that will be the name of the variable. We say equals, and then we supply it with a link like this. And then we just run it. So now this variable here has the value, which is this. Let's test. Let's do an echo $link. So the echo command will display text for us. And here we have $ here attached to the variable name. So the $ here tells bash that we want the actual value of this variable. Okay, so the actual value, we assigned this to it. And so the actual value is this. So that is why we have this $ here as well. So let's run this. So notice that the link has been displayed for us. Okay, so this is how we do it. Now let's look at how we can apply this in our query. So let's say bcftools query-l, and we say $link, and then we just run it. Okay, so we have the samples displayed for us. Okay, so we made things simple. Okay, so if you compare this to the other command, this is very, very simple. Okay, so that's how we do it. Let's clear the screen and then continue. So now it's time to make some queries on the sample IDs. For this section, we are going to focus on the VCF file that we downloaded on our PC. So let's proceed. So let's do an ls again just to look at the files we have. Okay, so things are looking great now. So let's start. So with the sample IDs, we can look at the first 5 samples, we can look at the last 5, or look at some of the samples. Okay, so we are just going to investigate and look at some of these things. Okay, it's just a way to explore the VCF file. So let's look at the first, that's where we look at getting the first 5 samples. Okay, so we will do this on the VCF file itself. Okay, so when we call bcftools directly on the VCF file, we will look at getting the first 5 samples on them, and we also look at how to do the same query on the text files, the output files we generated. So any of these is fine. I'm just showing you how you can use these approaches in both ways. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's look at the first 5 samples. We can say bcftools query -l. Let's call the VCF file, and then we use a pipe and we say head-n5. This will give us the first 5 samples, okay, as we have here. We stored this list, the sample IDs. We also stored or saved them in this text file. So we can call this text file and then get the same information from it. So we can say head-n5 sample IDs, and we have them there. Okay, so either way works fine for you. Okay, so just know which of them you want. Let's look at it. We can also do the same for this text file. Okay, this is for the one we accessed remotely. So we can say head-n5 chr1, and we do this. We can also do the same thing, okay, on the remote server using the link. Okay, so I will just say bcftools query -l $link, and we say head-n5. It's the same thing, and we just run it. So we have it here. So notice that this and this are the same because it's the same information. This and this are also the same. Let's clear the screen and continue. Let's look at the next one. We can look at the last 5 samples, and to do that we use till. Okay, now let me just go back and say this head command here is used to get the first n lines, okay, of a text file, okay, in bash. So because here, let me use this one, because this was a text file, we just did it here. But with bash or with Linux, it has this flexibility and also allows you to combine multiple commands, and that is why we are able to also get this list here and then just pipe it here and add this command to get it. So these are things we'll look at in the Linux tutorials that I'll be making. Okay, so I'll go into details with those ones. Let's proceed. Now let's look at the last 5 samples. We use till. So we can say bcftools query -l. We call the VCF file and we say till-n5. You can make it 6 or 7 or whatever. You can just change the numbers here to suit what you need. I'll use 5 and we call it. We can do the same for the text file, the output file. We can say till-n5 sample IDs.txt, and we have it there. Okay, so these are things you can do. Okay, so that's how we do this query to get the samples. We can also combine them to get maybe samples in the middle or whatever. So just try. Everything we have here is possible. So just try and then manipulate and then just do some exploration with it. Now let's move on to the next one. So let's clear the screen and continue. Now we are going to look for samples. We are going to check for the presence and absence of samples in the VCF file. Okay, so let's say you have your list of samples and you want to check whether there are records for this sample in the VCF file. You can also do that in Linux. Okay, so we are going to use grep to do this. So grep allows you to search for patterns in text and also search for patterns in text that are stored or saved in text files. Okay, so you can do that as well. So there are other ways to do it, but I'll use the grep utility for now. So let's proceed. So let's say you want to look for this sample NA21112, the one I am displaying right now. We want to check whether it's there. It has records in the VCF file. Okay, we can say bcftools query -l. we call the VCF file and we say grep, and then we specify the sample ID. We put it in quotes, and then we run it. Let's add this. So now it's complete. So if it's there, it will return it for us and display. So once we run it, you will notice that we have it here. So this means that there are records available for this sample. Okay, so this sample ID exists in the VCF file. That's what I'll see. We can also do this on the text file. Okay, the text file that contains the sample IDs that we extracted. So we can say grep NA21112, and then we call the text file. Okay, so it's what sampleids.txt. We just add it and we run it. So we are going to get the sample ID returned for us. Okay, so this is how we do it. Okay, so let's continue. Let's also check for the presence or absence of this sample, the one I am displaying right now, and see whether it exists. So let's say bcftools query -l. We call the file, we do grep, we call the sample ID. Let's see how it goes. So with this query, nothing is displayed. This is because it could not find this pattern here, okay, in this result we got from this query. Okay, so nothing has been displayed because it could not find anything. So the search results returned nothing. So that's how grep works. If there's a hit, it will return it. If there's no hit, nothing will be displayed. Let's do this on the text file as well. So we say grep hg, we add a sample ID, we call the text file. Yeah, so here too, nothing has been returned. That means that there's no record for this sample. Okay, so this is how we do it to check. So these are things you can do to explore and then just make sure that you are working with a VCF file that's in proper shape. Okay, with the grep, you can also combine samples. Let's say you have two samples of interest and you want to check. You don't have to do everything. Okay, you don't have to do them one by one. Let me put it that way. You can just combine them and also use them. So I'll show you that here as well. So let's try. Let's say we want to look for these two samples. We want to check for the presence of this and then that. Okay, we can just combine and say bcftools query -l. We call the VCF file. We say grep So this time we use egrep. We add e to it because we are looking for more than one sample, and we are asking, we want either this or that. So we say NA21112, and then we use the pipe command here, but this time it has a different meaning. Okay, and then we add the ID HG 00103. Okay, so we do it this way and then we run it. So let's see how it goes. Okay, yes, so we have both samples present. Okay, so this will let us know. We can try the same thing with the text file. Let me just copy this. I'll use it here just to speed up stuffs. Let me just type it here. So we can say egrep NA21112 HG 00103, and then we call the text file and then we run it. So there we have it. The two samples are there. So if they are absent, nothing will be displayed. So that's how we also do it with the queries to search for the presence and absence of samples in VCF file. So that's how we do it. So I believe this tutorial has been helpful, and you can apply the knowledge gained here on other VCF files. The next video here shows you how to subset or split VCF files using the sample IDs. So please watch that as well.